Hey, everybody, you know what time it is. This is Coach Carlos, and I am committed to every Sunday giving you a quick tip that you can implement on Monday. If you've been with me these last couple of weeks, you know what we've been talking about. I'm giving you seven, is that right? Seven? Yeah, seven power moves for increasing engagement in the classroom. We talked about power move number one, knowing your why. Power move number two was we were talking about becoming a classroom coach. I'm going to circle back around to that, not today, but later on, because a lot of people were asking about that classroom coach strategy. But I didn't want to take a lot of time about it because this is about quick tips. So I'm going to come back to it. But today is quick tip number 28, but power move number three. Power move number three. We're going to be talking about celebrating and certifying your parents as partners in your school or your district. Your parents have got to be your partners. Let me see. Hold on. You guys have probably seen this before. This is, that somebody hold up, this is a $20 bill. Then they scrumple it up and say, they throw it down, step on it, roll it around in the mud and all that good stuff. Then they ask you when it's all crumpled up, how much is this dollar bill worth? Well, everybody knows it's still worth $20. I don't care how I crumple it up, put mud on it or whatever. Still worth $20. Well, I don't care if your parents are coming from poor neighborhoods, whether they don't have the education that you have, or that you're accustomed to serving with parents who have higher levels of education. I don't care if they're employed, unemployed, what their social economic status is. They're still worth $20 bills, and they are still doing the best that they can for their children. And we've got to find a way to train them to get involved, engaged in the process. Now, you might say, why is that so important? Well, let me read something to you. Let me see if this might. First of all, let's go with the compliance portion of being with parents. The federal government defines parent involvement as regular two-way communication, meaningful communication involving student academic learning and other school activities, right? Regular two-way, school to home, home to school. Regular two-way, meaningful communication about academics. So those are the key things I want you to remember. This is what the federal government defines parent engagement about. Regular means this happens often, not just when a child is in trouble, but regular two-way. Parents answering emails, returning phone calls, you sending and making phone calls. Not just about deficit stuff, but about your child had a great day today. And then meaningful communication. Now, I know every parent doesn't fit that, so don't go somewhere to the deep end on me and say, but I got this one parent. No, I'm talking about your core base. I'm not talking about those outliers that are just off the chain. We'll talk about them a little in a later series. This is going to be a 7-part series because I don't want to pack it all in a day. I want to give you a tip for Monday every time we're together. So remember that. It's regular two-way communication that's meaningful around academics. That's the definition of academic engagement or parental engagement, right? So what I want to do real quick is I want to read something to you that a parent wrote me that I think might be very appropriate for you to know. So this is a parent's letter. Dear Coach Johnson, I only have one son, and I'm determined to fulfill my duty as his mother to ensure he succeeds. When he was young, I just had an idea that he must be a lawyer. So from that time, since he was in primary school, middle school, high school, up until he entered the University of Michigan Law, I was nagging him all the time, pushing him and working harder, and saying, you must become a lawyer. You better study hard. You better do this. You better go for this scholarship. You better go for that scholarship. But I never asked him what he wanted. Well, I succeeded. He is now a lawyer, but he no longer talks to me. I got a lawyer, but I lost a son. That's how she ends her letter. Now, you might say, Coach, what does that got to do with parents and me? That's her son. Well, what parents don't often understand is that if they're partnering with the teacher, if they're partnering with the school, the teacher could have said, Miss So-and-so, your son's stressing out about this law thing. We see other talents in him, additional talents in him. And that when there's collaboration, when there's regular two-way meaningful communication between home and school, that conversation could have happened. Parents need to be engaged with the schools because teachers see them all the time. We're almost in a co-parenting relationship. I mean, think about this for a second. Roughly 180 days per school year, 8 hours a day. That's around 1,450 hours, almost 1,500 hours that a child is with us as educators. Parents have got to recognize that. And if you take that out over a K-12 experience, that's over 17,000 hours that a child is in our possession, in our space, where we're influencing them, good and bad. Parents need to be a part of the process, right? Now, that's from their end. From your end, you're a classroom coach. You need an assistant coach. That's the family. We've got to have a process of including them in there, unless you're going to be like this teacher who says this. Who needs parents? I'm going to assume 100% responsibility for the learning and behavior of 100% of the children in my class. Now, if you're one of those people, that's a burnout teacher waiting to happen. You can't assume 100% of the child's behavior and academics. You cannot. It's going to drain you and wear you out. You've got to be intentional about getting families engaged in the process. It's too much work for you alone. So I'm going to, over the next couple of weeks of these quick tips, I'm going to give you some strategies every day. Every time we're together, I'm going to give you a quick strategy to get parents on engaged in the process of behavior and academics. All right. Today, I'm going to show you a quick tool that you can start implementing tomorrow. And it's called my meaningful minimums. Meaningful minimums. When I work with districts, oftentimes I'm asking, what's the based on your parent demographic, what's the minimum that you should require of them? That's meaningful. What's the minimum that every parent in this district should be able to do? Every parent in this school should be able to do. Every parent, every family in this classroom should be able to do. What's the minimum? And teachers don't go real high. They should be able to. Yeah, we know they should be able to do all these things. But what's the minimum? Because too often, parents aren't even doing the minimum that's required. We need to help them do the minimum. And that minimum will bless you. That minimum will bless your classroom. That minimum, if it's meaningful, will bless the school culture. So a quick exercise. What it's called my power move number 3. That's, you can email me at go to coachcarlos.org and email me, and I will send you this tool. coachcarlos.org. I will send you this tool, but it's real simple. All you do is go through here and with your team, with yourself, and write down what are the minimum requirements, minimum, that parents could and should be doing based on your demographics. Don't sit back and say, this is what all parents should be doing. This is if you were working with in a district where high socioeconomic status, everybody's working, 2-parent households, their minimum requirements are different if you're working in an area where parents are struggling. Students are coming to you traumatized. Be careful you don't confuse it. Only use the minimums of your demographics. And you're going to ask yourself 3 questions, 3 categories. And I'll send you this form if you want it. carlosjohnson.org, and I'll get that to you. Look at the minimum requirements for academics. What's the minimum requirements for families to do to help you and their child academically? Minimum. What's the minimum requirements that parents can do around behavior, supporting you with behavior? It could be something as simple as helping a child establish a routine to going to bed on time. Just that, as simple, because sleep deprivation is a real thing, everybody. ADD and ADHD is oftentimes has the exact same symptoms as just a child who is just sleep deprived. Think about that for a second. When you work so hard and you, as an adult, you're just sleep deprived. Minimum requirements: mom, dad, grandma, uncle. Can you make sure Michael just gets to bed on time regularly? Send him to me well rested, and then I can roll with him. Because when a child is sleep deprived, they are prone to behavioral outbursts. When they're sleep deprived, they have memory issues. When they're sleep deprived, you have all type of psychological problems that manifest. And if they do, you can often think, hey, this child is just, that looks like ADD. No, he could be acting crazy because he just ain't got no sleep. Simple as that. Parents can do some minimum things. They can ensure that kids are well hydrated, not on juice boxes, sugary stuff, water, what the body needs, because a child who is dehydrated also brings other problems into your class. We're talking about water and sleep. Minimum. Write that down. Behavior. What can they do? Right? And then culture. What kind of culture? In our classroom, our culture is, Mom, we send home these books every day. All I need you to do is, I don't care if you can't read it or do the homework, sign it. Let Michael know that you and I are connected. Just sign it. I know you are engaged. So all I need you to do is, based on your classroom, based on your school, take a second, woosah, write down the minimum requirements. Then we do that. Stay with me next week. I'm going to show you what you do with those minimum requirements. You want to start building great engagement? Let's start with the minimum meaningful requirements that parents can do to stay or to prove that they want to be engaged. Now, what's going to happen, I'll tell you now. Say you got 30 kids in your classroom. You're going to get a handful of these parents who will say, oh, is that all she needs me to do? Oh, I can handle that. No problem. Boom. Well, you just got a bump in parental engagement, 10 to 20%. This one tool will increase your classroom behavior, your classroom engagement, minimum 20%. Minimum. What if you just got 2 more parents to be more engaged? Wouldn't that take just a little bit of stress off you? What if you got 4 more parents, families more engaged? Wouldn't that just take a little more stress off you? You need an assistant coach in your classroom, an unpaid assistant coach. And guess who qualifies mightily for that job? The child's family. The child's family. Let's increase their engagement, not involvement. That's different. Engagement. Involvement denotes that here's what you do, parents. Here's what you do, parents. Here's what you do, parents. No, engagement denotes a relationship between home and school. That's what we want. We don't want involvement. We want engagement. Start with the meaningful minimums, and then tune in next week. And I'm going to share with you what you do with those meaningful minimums. All right, this is Coach Carlos. Be blessed and powerful.
Coach Carlos. Coach Carlos.